Hi, welcome to A2M Networks. So I'm back with my new video here. So yeah, let's go ahead and discuss what we are going to see here today. So I'm gonna talk about a DHCP, how to configure DHCP, how to make a router as a DHCP server, and we will see in some time what we can do with the DHCP protocol and how can we actually configure a router as a DHCP server. All that we will see on a packet tracer. And I want to make this video in three parts because I don't want you to, I don't want to bother you with, a lot of time duration for each video. So let me do this in three parts so that you can actually do and check it. So one thing is that the first video will be about how to configure router as a DHCP server. And the second thing would be how to configure a DHCP server in a different domain, in the sense like in a different LAN, and how do you get IP address for for a client when DHCP server is somewhere else. And third thing is I want to show, like everybody says that DHCP uses all the messages as broadcast messages. So I just want to show what are like all the messages which we have in DHCP processes, like discover, offer, request, acknowledgement, why, how those are broadcast messages. So that I'm going to show as well. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about DHCP, what is DHCP and all. So I have a slide for that. Yeah. So what is DHCP? It's a dynamic host configuration protocol. It uses UDP ports for server 67 and client 68. And it is used to configure is to configure IP addresses for the clients automatically. So basically you use this DHCP server when you have like large networks. It's necessary, it is mandatory for you to configure a DHCP server in the network or the enterprise, because you don't want to configure IP address for every host that you have in the network. So it's not an easy task. So if you have a DHCP server, that will take care of assigning IP addresses for the clients. So it uses the DORA process, as you all know, to get an IP address from the DHCP server. And so let's go ahead with the part 1 process. Let me open the packet tracer and I'll show you how to configure and all. Bear with me, it will take a little bit time to open because my computer is slow. So what we're gonna do today is that let's take like two PCs and one switch and then connect to the router. So let's have one LAN only, and then we'll create how to create. I mean, we'll make a router as a DHCP server and see how it can go from there. We'll go from there. So let's have a switch. Like let's have two PCs. So let's go ahead and take some switches here. Just one switch is enough. So let me connect all those devices. So that, okay. Okay. So let me fast forward this so that, okay, let's go ahead and configure an IP address on the router. I think it's gigabit Ethernet, I guess. Yeah, 0/0. IP address, let me configure 192.168.0.1. Uh, Class C. So the interface is up now. Okay, show IP interface brief. You can see the interface is up and we have configured the IP address as well. Okay, so you can see that it is connected. Now, if you go and see here, there is no IP. Let's go to the command prompt and see IP config. So if you see this, there is no IP address here, right? Yeah. There is no IP address right now. So what I'm gonna do is, so our main goal is that let's make this router as a DHCP server so that this router will assign IP addresses automatically to these PCs. We don't want to assign IP address automatically, like manually. You can do that by going here, like IP configuration. Here you see static. Just give some IPv4 address in that subnet. You can give like that, but I don't want to do that. I want to, use DHCP so that DHCP server will assign IP addresses to my clients. So let's go ahead and see how we can do it. Okay. For that, let's go ahead and let's go to the configuration mode. So first, I mean, it's optional. So what I'm going to do is I want to exclude some IP addresses so that even in future, if I want to add some servers, basically for servers, we make a static IP addresses for those servers. So for that reason, I'm going to exclude some IP addresses from the subnet. So I'll put 10 addresses reserved for that uh, servers which are going to be added in the network. So remaining addresses, I'll give it as a pool to the router saying that, okay, out of this pool, you give an IP address. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to exclude the address. That's the command IP DHCP excluded address, and you need to give the lower address. If you give the question mark, it says low IP address. So if you give 0.1 and 192.168.0.10. So I'm excluding these addresses from 0.1 to 0.10. From 11, the DHCP server will allocate the IP addresses to the clients. So this is the command that I'm going to give here. That's it, done. And next thing is, let's create a pool. And you have to give the pool name here. If you give the question mark, it says, give me the pool name. So what I'm going to use here is A2M networks. This is my pool. That's it. So now we are in the DHCP configuration mode. So here you need to first of all give what is your network, what is your LAN network. So 192.168.0.0, and I think you have to give the subnet mask. That's it. This is the network that you are going to use here, and so you can actually you have to provide what is your default gateway, because like DHCP server not only assigns IP addresses, but it also gives a lot of information whenever a client requests for the DHCP, I mean, as IP address. It also gives what is your default gateway, what is your domain server name. Okay, so these are the extra information that will be provided by a DHCP server. Subnet mask, all those information will be provided to a client. So that is one good thing that in interviews people might ask that. What is the extra information that DHCP server will actually give to the client other than the IP address? So in that case, you can actually give this information. So the default gateway is 192.168.0.1. So that is done. Now you can configure a domain name. I'm configuring a2mnetworks.com. Just A2M networks is fine. And DNS server also I'm going to give, let's consider 8.8.8. So you can see all this information will be given to a client. So now I have configured. So these are the steps that you're going to use in order to configure a router as a DHCP server. You need to create a pool. And in that pool, under that pool, you need to say what is your network. Since you have already mentioned that these are the IP addresses that you want to exclude. So that will be excluded for sure. And from 0.10, right? From 11, the IP addresses will be given to the clients. So that's it. Let's save this. Now let's go to the PC, and there is a command. So again, let's see, do I have an IP address for this PC? No, right? So what I'll do is, in order to get an IP address, what I'll do is I use this command /renew. So first it will be failed because it does an ARP request. Yeah, it actually came. You can see that. See, it fetched 192.168.0.11, as I told you. And the subnet mask and the DNS server and the default gateway. This is the requested. It just requested for this IP address, but DHCP server gives the extra information, right? So that you can see here. And let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other PC as well. Let's go here. Command prompt. Right now, ipconfig. There is no information right now. There is no IP address. You can see that. There is no IP address. So what I'll do, I'll give you the same command /renew. Now it's gonna get an IP address. See, 0.12. So you can, if you want to see all the information, you have to issue a command ipconfig/all. You can see all the information here. Okay, so this is the information you will be getting from a DHCP server whenever you request. So I will show you the exact process in part 3, like how whenever you request ipconfig/renew, what is the packet flow behind that. I'll show you that in the part 3. And in part 2, I'll talk about what is DHCP relay agent. And when you have DHCP server in a separate LAN, how we can actually do it in that way. So that also we'll talk in the next video. Okay. So I think that's all I have. Thank you. Have a good one.